answer.
Hi everyone, I'm Bababooey. I am a high-level player and caster as well as analyst. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about something that probably isn't considered a lot in your drafting and in your hero league games, and that's specific map drafting. And a lot of people understand small things about this and things like, yeah, Vikings really good on Garden of Terror and Abathur's really good on small map or big maps but bad on small maps. But a lot of what's overlooked is the idea that certain picks can just be really good on certain maps, and some of it's understood. As I said before, like people understand that Sylvanas was really good on Haunted Mines, like broken OP tier, and Vikings are really good at Garden of Terror. But what people don't understand is what kind of heroes do that, but to a lesser extent. And it's a lot of stuff I see even in the high level games where people just pick what they think is OP on every single map and neglect specifically the map objective. So, first of all, this isn't a drafting video, this isn't an in-depth drafting video. If you want a guide to drafting specifically comps and how to do specific drafting steps and how to choke your opponent out of picks and all that, make sure you check out Dreadnought's video. Excellent video, super informative. Should be put annotation like over here and in the description. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. Highly recommend it. So the idea is, once again, to understand which heroes perform better on certain maps and in conjunction with the battleground objective better than others. And we're going to talk a little bit of strategy first and then go into some ideas for some drafts you could do, and then specifically drafts around certain picks, and then finally end it off with just an idea of the entire map. So without further ado, let's get into the first map. We're doing Tomb of the Spider Queen. There we go. And so Tomb of the Spider Queen is a map broken down into 3 different lanes. 1, 2, 3, very simple. The high level strategy tells us that the optimal strategy involves 1 person in the bottom lane and 4 people rolling between top and mid. And what this really does is it allows you to clear waves effectively in top and mid without losing a lot of experience. Allows you to safely control the flow of the game because of this. If you're clearing quicker than your opponent, and if you're clearing at a 4-1 pace and they're clearing at a 1-3-1, it means that you can put a lot more pressure on the top lane, and if they don't react to it, then you'll get pushes in early. And what this really does that's super effective is it prevents you from losing ammo early. Ammo is one of the most undervalued resources in the game. When you get it, when you lose all your ammo, your forts aren't doing anything. They're just kind of free experience for your opponents. And especially on this map where the spiders and web weavers push down every single lane at the same time. So there'll be 1 in mid, 1 in top, and 1 in bot. It allows you to kind of ignore one if you have full ammo and full pressure on the map. So if you can make sure your ammo stays full, then you're a lot more safe going in. You're a lot less likely to lose as much value on your structures. And if you lose less value and you can force them to lose more value, then you're going to fall. You're going to get a good lead early. So some of the core ideas here are wave clear and pushing, strong solo laner, and pick heroes. And when I say pick heroes, I mean heroes that can give you early picks on people and pick someone out of position, catch someone out of position, and punish them really heavily for being out of position. So, wave clear and pushing, to start it off, obviously Tassadar, Sylvanas, Zul, Kael'thas, Johanna, and Jaina. Now, something that all of these do is they are very good at instantly deleting a wave from the map. And when they do this, as I said before, you can get the earlier rotations. These are all really good. There's obviously other picks that do it well, but these are some that I find the most powerful. Jaina's a little bit weak in the meta, but still really strong at wave clear. Strong solo laners, Zagara, Thrall, Zul, Tassadar. One of the key things to consider with Zagara and Tassadar is that both of them provide excellent vision control, and vision control is something that's super important on this map, because if you can deny turn-ins, then you're effectively denying your opponent's use of the map objective and the use of the main mechanic of the map, which is super important. Obviously, I put Illidan, Chen, Sonya and Sylvanas in brackets here, and that's just because of the ability of these heroes to deal with other solo laners. Not so much that they're really good solo laners, but Illidan can actually win the matchup against Zagara if it's played correctly. Chen does well against Zagara also. Sonya does well against other melees, and she can get in there and out trade. She actually wins against Illidan and does pretty well against Chen. Sylvanas does an excellent job of just punishing people for leaving the lane. And if it's not a decent solo laner, like if you have the enemy team doesn't draft a good solo laner and you have Sylvanas, you can throw Sylvanas in that solo lane and really punish the enemy team. So some good pick heroes, ETC, Muradin, Tyrande, Kael'thas, Uther, Jaina, Thrall. Each of these have really good CC and CC follow-up. The kind of king and queen of pick comps are Muradin, Tyrande, the Miranda comp, if you will. And adding in Kael'thas or Jaina or Thrall just adds a little bit more damage. Uther also adds an extra stun. So it's really like any combination of two of these. You don't really want to combine the two tanks just because ETC and Muradin are strong, yes, but they don't work as well as dual solo tanks. So strong heroes specific to this map. These are heroes that are first pick and first ban. Well, not first pick and first ban, but very high priority specifically to this map. And I'll tell you why in a second. So Zool is really good because of his ability to summon skeletons. If you're behind on the 4-1 rotation, then it means you get free push onto their towers and waste their ammo. And if you're ahead, it's extra minions that they actually have to clear, as well as him being a pretty good solo laner, and the tight corridors and clumping makes Poison Nova really good, as well as Frost Mages and his Curse Strikes. Sylvanas, really good because she helps the Web Weavers. And when I say this, I mean Web Weavers pretty much effectively gain health because she shuts down turrets and forts. Kael'thas isn't really specific to this map. He's absolutely disgusting right now in the meta, but he is extremely strong on this map because of his wave clear and pick potential. Tassadar and Zagara, both good solo laners. Tassadar offers pretty good wave clear, and both of them offer the vision control. And vision control is something I already talked about. If you can deny it, and then you can get an XP lead by denying it, then you take a fight and you wipe them, then they lose all of their gained gems, and it's a really good way to just snowball a good lead. So we're going to talk a little bit about some ideal comps now. Tyrande, Jaina, Tyrande, Tassadar, Kael'thas, Zool. This you should almost never get if your enemy team is pretty good at drafting, but if you manage to get that first Kael'thas, and then you manage to get Zool, Muradin, then you can last pick Tyrande, Tassadar, so it is possible, but I don't think you should get it. If you get this, you should be very happy because it's an excellent team comp. You get excellent wave clear, good solo laners, and your pick pressure is nuts. Your team fighting is just really good with this team. Johanna, Rhaegar, Tassadar, Zool, Li Ming. This is actually a more reliable one to get. Would get Li Ming in the first pick rotation, Zool, Tassadar in the second, Johanna, Rhaegar in the last. Some variation of that. And this one's really good because you get strong wave clear, and you get a good soul laner in either Tassadar or Zool, and strong team fights. Li Ming is obviously excellent at team fighting, great in the current meta. But really, what I want to talk about is that you can take these comps, eliminate two people from it, and it's still a really good comp. Muradin, Tyrande, Tassadar, insane. That's really strong. If you can run that, you should. You get Tyrande's damage right now, which pretty much makes her an assassin that can heal, and it's absolutely ludicrous with the Starfall buffs. Johanna, Rhaegar, Zool is also just really strong. You get good wave clear, good solo lane, just excellent. So moving on to that, we have core heroes that you can build team comps around. ETC, Tyrande, Jaina, including the ones the two comps that I said before. This comp is really strong because you get the strong pick comp. Jaina can assist it. Jaina's a little bit weak in the current meta, but she adds really good wave clear. So I wouldn't necessarily just automatically go for this, but if you're looking for a mage, looking for that extra burst to add to your team, definitely consider throwing Jaina in there. And then you can just add something like a Zagara, a Zool, Tassadar, any two of these picks, really. You don't really want to run triple support, but you can. Adding in any support with Tyrande is good because Tyrande isn't really strong. She's like an okay solo healer, but you really would prefer to run as a hybrid damagey support. And then the next comp, Zool, Li Ming, Johanna. This comp is also really strong because it gives you excellent wave clear, good solo laners, strong team fight, and you can obviously consider adding any of these, but Tassadar Tyrande, really strong. You just get the extra pick with Zool, and then if they're standing still and you have Hunter's Mark and Li Ming, it's pretty much free resets to chain through the team. So now, obviously this is all good and well, but what about bad drafts? And what happens when you do get a bad draft? So let's say your team picks something like, you're in the last two picks and your team picks something like Nova, Raynor, and Li Ming. Right? Something like that, where you have to pick the last two heroes around it. And you don't really know what to do. You could try and go for like a Johanna Rhaegar here and just add a little bit of extra wave clear, but then you're kind of missing a solo laner and you need the support. So what do you kind of do in this situation? In this situation, when you're going to be mediocre in every single aspect, you're going to be an okay solo laner, like meh, wave clear, and pick, you really want to just cut your losses and say, okay, we're definitely not going to win the wave clear race. We need to pick a healer and a tank. So what I would recommend with this draft of Raynor, Nova, Li Ming, is throw in like Muradin, Tyrande. And what this really means is if you throw in something like Muradin, Tyrande, then you can just focus on picks. You have a pretty good pick comp with Nova, Li Ming. That's pretty high burst, and then you add in Stormbolt, Lunar Flare, Hunter's Mark, and they just melt. And then you get pretty good. Like Raynor's an okay soul laner. He's not really great, but you can also relieve the pressure on him because you have the Miranda combo, the Tyrande Muradin. So make sure that when you see something that's coming up, we're like, well, we're going to be having a bad draft, or you think it's a bad draft, just play to whatever is strong with the draft. Don't look at it and say, well, our draft's over, we lose. You can really just take something and say, well, if they have a better wave clear team than us, just play pick. Just play the super heavy pick comp, try and get picks early and snowball our advantage. Because if a wave clear composition kind of falls behind and a team that is really good at wave clear, they're usually not as great at team fighting, and you can use your high burst, high initiation team to your advantage. So kind of a summary of this whole thing. 1, wave clear, soul laning, pick potential. These are the 3 things you really want to focus on this map of Tomb of the Spider Queen. Kind of understand that wave clear and soul laning is really strong. Pick potential, if you can add it in and get that wave clear with pick potential, just really, really good. Obviously, I listed some heroes before, but we'll talk about it again. You can add in some of these heroes that are really good at all 3. Zool, Johanna can do that pretty well. Any of those 2. Sylvanas does pretty well too. They lack a bit of pick. Some of those lack a bit of pick potential, but it's okay. Usually, you want a hero that does 2 of those really well. You don't want a hero that does only 1. You always want to optimize into picking 2. That's why Nova isn't really good, because she only emphasizes 1 area of this draft, of these core components. So when you're doing it, you want to communicate, when you're drafting, you want to communicate a core idea. You want to say like, hey, we should build a comp around like these 3 heroes. Hover your heroes, try and figure out what your team is comfortable playing. Don't play something you're uncomfortable playing. Just because I mentioned a hero or didn't mention a hero doesn't mean you should or shouldn't play that hero. Always play something you're comfortable on. Playing something that's maybe has 100 games is way better than playing something that's considered good but has 10 games, right? You always want to play something that you're comfortable with, something that you're good on, and just because I didn't mention a hero doesn't mean don't play them. But again, try and communicate that core idea. Like, okay, we can play Muradin, Tyrande. What can we add to that? Okay, we need to add some wave clear and a soul laner. Good, excellent. Moving on, right? Communicate with your team, try and figure out what everyone can run the best, and build a draft around that. So know when to commit yourself to one aspect rather than to spread yourself too thin. As I said before, when you're going to be mediocre in everything, why not just go really heavily into one thing and try and win off of that? It's very easy to snowball a lead when you get a very heavy pick comp, because wave clear is something that a lot of heroes don't have, and when you try and force that, it kind of falls apart. So just understand when to cut your losses and focus on one aspect of the draft and just push your advantage with that. Overall, hope you enjoyed. Please leave me a comment in the comment section below. Hit like or subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. If you want me to do any specific maps, let me know. Anyways, I'm Bababooey. Go crush some ranked games. Have a good one. And we're closer.
look closer.